Chrysler built cars that could have changed everything. Then they made them disappear. A turbine engine that ran on almost any liquid, including tequila. A supercar targeting 240 miles per hour that actually drove. A concept so advanced it sank to the ocean floor before anyone could see it. These are not rumors. Every single one of these cars was real, fully built, and tested. And nobody talked about them until now. Counting down from 10, here are the rarest cars Chrysler ever built. In the 10th place, Chrysler's Thomas Special GS1 arrives as a hand-built Grand Tourer that nearly changed the company's global ambitions overnight. Under the polished aluminum skin crafted by Ghia in Turin, this coupe packed a 331 cubic inch Hemi 5.8 Power Flight automatic, and every power accessory Chrysler could offer in 1952. Power steering, power brakes, even power windows. Only about 9 to 12 were ever completed, each one a fully roadworthy machine, not just a showpiece. 5 are still documented today, their survival confirmed by auction records and coach builder invoices. But the price was staggering, $10,000 per car, at a time when a new Cadillac cost half as much. As Chrysler's vision shifted to mass production, the GS1 was quietly consigned, leaving behind a handful of Italian-American exotics that proved Chrysler could build a world-class halo car, if only the world had been ready to pay for it. Number 9, the Chrysler C200 stands out as an audacious, one-off convertible that was never supposed to exist outside a showroom. Built by Ghia in 1952, this car wasn't just a styling exercise, it was fully operational, rolling through European streets for press photos with a 331 cubic inch Hemi 8 under the hood. The plan was to battle European buyers with American horsepower, dressed in Italian curves. But the price landed somewhere north of $20,000. That was double the cost of a new Mercedes 300 SL at the time. The pale green and black two-tone finish, jet-age gun sight taillights, and bespoke leather interior turned heads, but Chrysler's accountants turned down the dream. Only one C200 was ever completed, a halo car priced so high it never stood a chance, leaving behind little more than press clippings and a whisper of what could have been. In 8th place, the Chrysler Thunderbolt stands as a pre-war experiment that almost vanished from the record books. In 1941, Chrysler's engineers assembled a single roadster on a Dodge chassis, cloaked it in polished aluminum, and stuffed it with a 323 cubic inch straight 8 engine, complete with a Carter supercharger and the much-rumored twin-ion induction system. The Thunderbolt was more than a styling exercise, and period road tests clocked it at over 100 miles per hour. A shocking figure for its day. As the United States entered World War II, the War Production Board ordered all non-essential prototypes to be scrapped for their metal. Chrysler's own internal memos confirmed the Thunderbolt was likely destroyed in 1942, with only scattered photographs and a handful of engineering files surviving. Its brief existence hints at a lost chapter, one where Chrysler's sprint technology might have rewritten the rules, if not for the demands of war. The gaps in the archives still leave room for discovery, and the story begs for a deeper dive into the National Archives and Chrysler's wartime engineering files. Number 7. The Chrysler Firepower is where the story of lost potential takes a sudden leap into the modern era. In 2005, Chrysler stunned the Detroit Auto Show with a grand tourer built on the bones of a Dodge Viper. Except this time, the goal was refinement, not raw intimidation. The firepower packed a 6.1-liter Hemi Vive 8, boosted by a dual-stage supercharger to acclaimed 650 horsepower. This was not just a static showpiece. Motor Trend actually drove it, clocking 0 to 60 in about 5.2 seconds, all through a 6-speed manual and a carbon fiber monocoque chassis. The cockpit was finished in Alcantara, with illuminated badges and digital gauges. Those details signaled Chrysler was eyeing the $250,000 luxury GT segment. But the project died on the spreadsheet. Internal cost analyses showed almost no market for a Chrysler priced at $250,000, no matter how fast or polished. The firepower was fully functional, shockingly advanced, and then, just like that, erased from Chrysler's future. Number 6, the Chrysler Turboflight, is where the story takes a leap into the uncanny, because this car actually existed, and almost nobody today remembers it. In 1961, Chrysler and Ghia joined forces to create a coupe that looked like it had rolled straight off a science fiction set. Underneath the razor-edged bodywork sat a 383 cubic inch V8 engine. But with a twist, a single Garrett turbocharger pushed the output to a claimed 260 horsepower. The real spectacle, though, was the retractable hardtop, an electro-hydraulic roof that slid away at the press of a button, decades before Mercedes or Lexus made it mainstream. Inside, the plastic dashboard bristled with early digital gauges and air conditioning, while the exterior was all glass canopy and futuristic fins. On paper, the Turboflight could hit 135 miles per hour. But the fantasy crashed into reality when Chrysler's accountants projected a retail price of over $30,000. Add in looming safety and emissions rules, and the whole project was quietly shut down. Only one Turboflight was ever built, a real drivable car that bridged the gap between classic coachwork and the turbocharged dreams of the future, before vanishing into the archives just as things were getting interesting. Number 5, the Chrysler Atlantic, is where the countdown collides with a future that almost happened. In 1995, Chrysler and Mitsubishi's design labs joined forces to build a retro, futurist coupe that looked like it had rolled out of an alternate timeline. The Atlantic was not just a wild show car, it was fully drivable. With a 4.7-liter V8 under the hood, variable valve timing, and a 6-speed manual, sending 350 horsepower to the rear wheels. The bodywork was a study in curves, with carbon fiber panels stretched over a lightweight space frame, and the cockpit was packed with digital gauges and glowing badges. Chrysler's own press releases pitched a starting price of $45,000. Ambitious, but not outlandish for a grand tourer of this caliber. Yet, just as the Atlantic seemed poised for production, the Daimler-Chrysler merger upended priorities. Suddenly, the focus shifted to sport utility vehicles and mass-market sedans, and the Atlantic was quietly shelved, its single prototype locked away in the corporate museum. The sense of lost potential is hard to ignore. Here was a car that could have redefined Chrysler's image for a new era, undone by boardroom politics rather than engineering limits. Number 4, the Chrysler Norseman, is where the story shifts from boardroom drama to outright tragedy. This wasn't just another show car. It was a fully engineered, fastback coupe, built in Italy by Ghia, with a bubble canopy roof that floated over the cabin, supported by a single cantilevered pillar. The entire roof could be opened at the touch of a button, a feat of design that seemed to belong to another era. Underneath, a 354 cubic inch ME Four-Twelve promised a nearly 300 horsepower, and the boat hull sides hinted at both speed and luxury. But the Norseman never made it to its Paris debut. In July 1956, the only completed example was loaded onto the S.A. Andrea Doria for shipment to New York. Days later, the ship collided with the Stockholm and sank off Nantucket. Chrysler's own cargo manifest listed the Norseman by chassis and value. Over $15,000 lost to the Atlantic. No wreckage has ever been recovered. The Norseman became a legend, not because of what it did, but because of what it might have done if fate had given it a chance. Coming to the top three, the 2006 Chrysler Imperial concept stands as the ultimate near miss in American luxury. Imagine a four-door flagship, stretched longer than the 300C, with a full grain leather interior, adaptive suspension, and a 5.7-liter Hemi 5.8 under the hood. Except this one was rumored to be packing 4 turbochargers and nearly 800 horsepower. The truth is nearly as wild. Chrysler's engineers actually built a fully drivable prototype, tested it in wind tunnels, and even partnered with Alcoa for an aluminum space frame. The car could rocket to 60 miles per hour in about 3.5 seconds, and it was electronically held back at 190 miles per hour. It was meant to take on Rolls-Royce head-to-head, priced at a staggering $120,000. But then came the perfect storm. New emissions laws, looming CAFE penalties, and a post-merger restructuring that gutted Chrysler's most ambitious projects. Boardroom memos from early 2007 spelled doom for anything that did not fit the core sedan and SUV lineup. Only one Imperial concept was ever built, and after its brief moment in the spotlight at the Los Angeles Auto Show, it was quietly locked away. In an alternate universe, this car would have rewritten the rules for American luxury sedans. Instead, its story ends with a single, untouched prototype, a casualty of regulation and corporate retreat, just shy of the finish line. Number 2, the Chrysler ME Four-Twelve, is where the story of lost potential rockets into the realm of the unbelievable. In 2004, Chrysler did not just sketch a hypercar, they actually built one. This was a real running prototype, engineered in partnership with Mitsubishi's Motorsports division. And it did not just aim high, it aimed for the stratosphere. A twin turbocharged 4.7-liter V12, carbon fiber monocoque, and a target top speed of 240 miles per hour. The numbers are staggering even today. 850 horsepower, 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds, and a curb weight barely tipping 2,500 pounds. Motor Trend and Road & Track both got behind the wheel, confirming this was no static showpiece. The 6-speed paddle shift gearbox was mounted behind the engine, just like a Le Mans racer, and the chassis fused carbon and aluminum to keep things feather light. Chrysler's own budget reports pegged the cost per unit at $250,000, enough to make even Ferrari's accountants sweat. Then came the financial downturn of 2005 and 2006. Suddenly, the company's focus snapped back to trucks and mainstream sedans. The ME Four-Twelve, despite being fully functional and ready for production, was quietly mothballed. One prototype survives, locked away, a glimpse of an alternate reality where Chrysler did not just compete with the world's fastest cars, but led the charge. And finally, in first place, the Chrysler Turbine Car stands as the boldest experiment Detroit ever let ordinary Americans drive, then tried to erase from history. In 1963, Chrysler built 55 of these jet-powered sedans, each one fully functional and ready for the open road. The heart of the machine was the A831 gas turbine, spinning at 34,000 RPM and producing 130 horsepower. No pistons, no spark plugs, and no need for a transmission. The turbine car could run on almost anything flammable: gasoline, diesel, kerosene, even tequila or Chanel No. 5 perfume. Chrysler's engineers proved it by filling the tank with Mexican tequila for a demonstration, and the car started right up. Over 2 years, 203 families across the United States were handed the keys, driving these sci-fi machines in everyday life: school runs, grocery trips, even family vacations. Acceleration was brisk for the era, 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds, with a turbine whine that sounded straight out of a jetliner. But the dream did not last. In 1971, the EPA ruled the exhaust could not meet new emissions standards, and the government's fuel economy rules threatened crushing penalties. Spare parts for the program were lost when the Andrea Doria sank off Nantucket, sealing the car's fate. By 1974, Chrysler ordered nearly every turbine car destroyed, burned, crushed, or cut apart, leaving just a handful preserved in museums. It was the most ambitious public test of jet-powered cars ever attempted, and the most dramatic corporate cover-up when the experiment was over. Today, the turbine car remains the ultimate symbol of what Chrysler dared to build, then dared the world to forget. Across all 10 of these vanished machines, one pattern is undeniable. Chrysler proved world-changing ideas can be real, fully built, and still get buried by fear, cost, or politics. Innovation isn't just about invention. It's about what survives the boardroom. Which one of these should have made it to production? And which one deserves its own full video? Drop it in the comments.